Our next speaker is the founder and president of insurance consulting and training firm Agency Performance Partners, and has been making the rounds of young agents groups across the nation as a highly sought-after speaker, empowering agents to face change with a can-do attitude and a growth mindset. For more than a decade, she has been inspiring clients and conference attendees alike to be ridiculously amazing. An empathetic visionary, Kelly sees herself and her team not just as expert advisors, but as the BFF to agency owners, providing encouragement when times are tough and high fives when success rolls in. Here today to teach how to be a hard market hero to our clients, please welcome Kelly Donahue-Pyro.
Looking for you. It's so bright up here.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. How many of you were out late last night? There's a line of them at the coffee right now. All I know, I was at the gym at 4:30 this morning and didn't see any of you. So I am excited to be here today. I have had my company for 10 years, and I did training and consulting for 8 years before that, and this market is like none other. And by the way, before that, we had this thing called COVID. So we had COVID, hard market. So how many of you are a little tired right now? Not just from the late night, but in general. So whenever there's adversity, there's opportunity. And what I see going into all these agencies that I get to work with and my team gets to work with is too many of us are drowning, and we're describing the water rather than coming up with an action plan on how to capitalize in this market. So our top clients are not just surviving the hard market, they are thriving in the hard market. And one of the things I'm going to start up front saying is I don't think we should call this the hard market anymore. It's just the market. And we need to adapt to the conditions given to us. That's what leaders do. Leaders don't sit there and say, oh, it's hard to hire. Yep, what are we going to do about it? Oh, my team's burned out. Absolutely. What are we going to do about it? There's no time. I'm so busy. 100%. What are we going to do about it? And today I want to give you guys some real world strategies that you can take home to your agency just on that. Does that sound like a great plan for this morning? That was really lame. I hope we build some excitement, enthusiasm. Some of you right now are like, where's the Aleve? I get it. So our first journey today is going to be, how do we become efficient in chaos? The hard market has thrown a lot of work at agencies, non-renewals, new underwriting memos. You've got people with rate increases. You're trying to scramble around and shop. It takes more time to quote new business because the markets are constricted, right? So we need to figure out how we can go through that. Real quick, if you guys want a copy of these slides, this is a two-part presentation. So this QR code will work to get these slides and all the resources I'm going to speak about. If QR codes are not your thing, or you're in the back of the room and you want to leave me your business card, we will get them to you. Just a note, when you snap the QR code, you will give us a few pieces of information, and then a landing page will pop up, and if you scroll to the top, there's a link you can click on, and it will be emailed to you. Emails today are very unreliable, just like the USPS, right? So if it does do that, check your junk or spam, or we will get it to you after. So it is on every slide. I'll give everyone a second if you want to follow along. I love to kick things off with a great quote. Time is a created thing. To say I don't have time is to say I don't want to. I believe in this wholeheartedly with everything in my being. When your team says, I'm so busy, I couldn't get to that new business quote. What they're saying is, I'd rather service, right? Or I'm so busy, I couldn't get to that thing that you wanted. What they're really saying is, I'm disorganized, unclear, right? And I understand that these are difficult concepts, but in many agencies, and one of the number one struggles we hear is, I don't know what my priority is. So without clarity from the leader, people apply their own priority. So how many of you might go back home to your agencies today or tomorrow? What's one of the first things you're gonna hear when you walk in? It's busy. And I like to say, isn't that a blessing? Clients are calling us, not the competition. People want new business. This is exciting. And they look like Eeyore. Oh, bother. How am I going to keep up? And we have to explore that. So here's some efficiency statistics that might help get us in the right direction. People spend 223 minutes per day on their smartphones. Gosh, that's a lot. I often envision when I retire or sell my company like throwing my phone into the ocean in Hawaii, but then I think I'll hit a turtle and then I get sad. But you know, smartphones empower us, but they also hinder us, right? 33% of people use a to-do list to manage their day. But my question and my challenge to everybody in this room is, why are we not using our management systems and having everything in there? Why would we have a paper to-do list? All you're gonna do all day long is have chaos and add to it. The average US employee gets 6 hours and 47 minutes of sleep every night. So everyone's sleep schedule is different, but if you don't get a good night's sleep, how do you feel the next day? Not great, right? Foggy, probably not living your personal best. The average employee spends 2 hours per day reading and answering emails. This equates to 30 days per year. Email is my least favorite way to communicate. I would love to go back to the days of like Mad Men, the TV show, right? Where there was martini lunches and someone taking notes, and we used mail, but we don't live in that world. 54% of people say they lose focus because they check their email too often. In an insurance agency, we cannot run our day from email. And 80% of team members say chatty coworkers hurt their productivity. Some of you might have what we call the little whack-a-mole. They pop up over the cubby, hey, what's going on? Or everyone says how busy, and then you walk over to the break room and everyone's talking about like the Golden Bachelorette over coffee for 20 minutes. Great for culture, not great for productivity. So if your team says, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, one of the first things that we teach our agencies is we banish the word busy in agencies. It becomes a swear word with a literal swear jar. Because guess what? Busy is a BS word. And I'll tell you why I say that. My retired mother, if we called her right now, will tell us how busy she is. She will tell me that she has not clipped the Sunday coupons, the church is having a bake sale in 3 weeks and she has no idea what she's going to make, and that Thanksgiving is coming up, and you know what, she needs a new cranberry recipe. And then she will take the sheets out of the dryer and iron them. I travel everywhere. I will be speaking 6 times this week, and I don't use the B word. My mother actually once told me that she had to go because her book would not read itself. I was like, thanks, Mom. So busy is not the greatest look. Now here's the strategy though. If we saved 5 minutes every day in your agency, that would be 25 minutes per work week, 100 minutes a month, which is 1.67 hours, 6,500 minutes a year, but that equals 21.67 hours per year. That is over half a work week. Do y'all think you could save 5 minutes a day? 100%. Most of the time in agencies, when we walk in, we find that the agency is overstaffed. Even though no one can keep up, the overdue expenses and activities are vibrant in the management system. People are crying at their desks. But you look at the Reagan Best Practices report of revenue per team member, and you realize that there's a huge gap. So my passion when I turned 40, not only did I get to go to Hawaii, but I also said I was gonna solve this challenge in the insurance space. Because when I was 18 and started at my first insurance agency, the first thing I heard when I walked in from a woman named Barb, and I think every agency has a Barb, 18, right, 18, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. She goes, I hope you're ready, it's busy here. How inspirational for a new person coming in. I was like, I wonder if that job at the dry cleaner is still available. I might have made a mistake here. And so we need to start thinking creatively about how we shave off time and how we close that gap between Reagan Best Practices and the revenue per employee. Because there are people in all of your agencies that can handle that workload and some that can't. So what's the difference? Training, approach, mindset, clarity. These are things that we can get through. So my question is, do you want a busy or a productive team in your agency? Hopefully the word productive comes to mind, because I see a ton of people over-servicing our least desired accounts. Way over-servicing. And then I see producers under the gun selling undesired accounts. And then I see account managers remarketing undesired accounts and spending all the time. And then here's what happens. Someone like me with 26 policies becomes intimidating, and someone with sometimes 1 6-month auto becomes the focus, because that's easy. And who do you want referrals from? Probably me, right? Who do you not want referrals from? Probably the sometimes 6-month auto. Yet we don't have fair service, we have inequity in a lot of agencies. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Kelly Donahue-Piro. My 2 feet have been in over 1,000 agencies between the United States and Canada. I'm focused on giving agencies a plan. I want you to have fun, learn new things, and help your team hit its full potential. My #1 goal in life is to help agencies become ridiculously amazing. So how many of you woke up this morning being like, I am a ridiculously amazing agency? The laughing is funny. Okay. You gotta have a positive attitude, put the work in, and fail forward. Because we're gonna spend a few hours together, this is a little bit about me personally, although there is a green spot over my husband's chin. I live in Rhode Island, also known as the Ocean State. Beautiful coastline just like yours, just slightly colder in the winter. We probably get about 2 months less time to use it. That's my rescue puppy, America. She was our COVID lose our minds. Let's go get a puppy unseen who just appeared. You want to be reincarnated as my dog. She goes to doggy daycare every year. That was her Christmas photo. She's a lovable, scary spider for Halloween. Follow me on social media to find America's Halloween costume. I'm on Peloton, so if any of you guys are on there, you can follow me. Can't keep plants alive. I fly every week. I'm heading over to Savannah this afternoon. I married my best friend. That's my husband, Andrew. I said Amanda, wow. The 4 a.m. wake-up call is catching up. So I've watched every episode of Grey's Anatomy, and Chance the Rapper followed me on Twitter, now known as X, for my awesome insurance tips. So if that doesn't qualify me to be here today, I don't know what will. I own a company that does all training, coaching, consulting for the insurance space. I don't know anything other than insurance. However, if you do catch me on an airplane and it's been a long week and I don't want to talk about insurance, I'll tell you I'm a dry cleaning consultant. So if you do see me, pick my brain on that. So I want to walk you through our 15 time management hacks that you could take into your agency anytime, anyhow. These are easy things to start getting down pat. We're going to go through Eat the Frog, my 2-minute rule. Act like you're going to win the lottery at lunch. Slowing down to speed up. Time vampire clients. The question, by when? If it's not in the management system, it did not happen. We need to break up with our notepads. And I have walked into agencies where people know it's coming and they have been clutching that notepad for dear life. White knuckles. I had one person put like a picket sign like she was gonna go and, have a strike over this concept. Price and remarketing mantra. Personal drama gets locked in your car. Headsets and heads up. We gotta operate like an ER nurse. We gotta delegate to elevate. Appointments are a friend. And believing you can be a zero backlog environment. So you guys ready to go through these? Again, everyone's like, because some of these just hit you a little hard, right? Some of you are like, maybe I'm gonna get coffee during that one. That one seems like it might sting. All right, the reality is me and my mother have the same number of hours in a day. It's all how we use them, right? So I have 24 hours, you have 24 hours. We need to make sure we have clarity on the prioritization. So the first one is Eat the Frog. This is actually a book. And has anyone ever heard this concept before, Eat the Frog? Some of you are nodding your heads, yeah. If you like it, we do have squeeze toy frogs, and we do have t-shirts that say Eat the Frog. But the whole concept is, if you had to think about this, you had to do something so very hard, which is called Eat the Frog, a live, riveting, slimy, disgusting frog that was looking at you by midnight tonight. Otherwise, something terrible would happen to your favorite person or animal. Don't ask me why I had to add per animal, because someone once told me in a session they didn't care about people and they wouldn't eat the frog. When I flipped it over to their pet, the whole world changed. So you've got to do this by midnight, otherwise something terrible happens. What is the best time to do that? First thing, right? And the reason is because all day long, if you had to think about eating a frog, you would spend all your time and your energy overthinking it. And then what would happen to that frog? It would grow in size, right? Become this massive, massive frog. And half the time when you eat the frog, you might find it's a delicious little gummy frog. I know that might not be legal here, but it is in Rhode Island. You also might have it deep fried with some dipping sauces, might not be so bad. It might be a little tadpole, might not be a big deal. But the point is that when you put it off to the last minute, it is always going to be disgusting. And it's always going to hurt you, and it's going to take more time and mental energy. So our first time management hack is everybody gets into the agency. The night before, they pick the hardest thing that they have to do. We actually have toy frogs we give our clients. They put it on their little keyboard with a sticky note that says, frog, and this is what I'm going to do. So when their butt hits the seat, it's not emails, it's not activities, it is the hardest thing of your day. Maybe that's telling someone they're being non-renewed. Maybe it's telling someone, like I worked with an agency yesterday, that they have a 109% rate increase. Maybe it's going ahead and having to remarket a very complex account. Whatever it is, do it first, get it out of the way, and then you'll have a more productive day. This is exactly why I was in the gym at 4:30 this morning. You will never catch me at the gym at 4:30 p.m. because all day long I will dread doing it. But at 4:30 a.m. I'm still asleep, and by the time I'm halfway done, I've woken up. And I've started my day better. So we just have to think about some of those mental resistant tasks that people have that we could just get done first thing. The second one is revolutionary, and I will take credit for this one. It's your 2-minute rule. So many things in an insurance agency are coming at us every day, right? We have the download, we have producers, we have phone calls, we have emails, we have faxes, we have mail, we have walk-ins, we have the owner coming by. We've got a miscellaneous amount of stuff coming at us. We are like air traffic controllers. And what often happens is people start working out of their management system, then their to-do list, then their email, and they're kind of jumping around without a lot of structure to the day. So our job is to say, if it takes 2 minutes and it comes across your desk, do it and document it. If it takes more than 2 minutes, it goes into the management system as an open activity, because then I can put a to-do date, a priority, it's attached to the account. Oh, and by the way, if I start to get backlogged, my leader can go in there and look and say, let me clear some of these out for you, because it's all in the system. Now remember, I told you I got into the insurance and financial services space at 18. Guess what at 18 I was ill-equipped to do? Prioritize, handle adversity, figure my life out, get to work on time, you name it, right? I was 18. Does anybody of you guys want to go meet your 18-year-old self? Probably not, no. No. So I would get myself so backlogged because I didn't know how to control a conversation, and I didn't know the priorities, and I didn't really understand how much time things would take. So I would get myself so backlogged. Barb and me obviously didn't get off on the right foot. So I was not comfortable telling my manager I was drowning, okay? And by the way, we got to go back in the way back to, this is 24 years ago. The work culture has changed quite a bit. So what would end up happening is I would do this thing, get so overwhelmed, I would do the ugly cry. Does anybody know what the ugly cry is? The snot and the tears and the hyperventilation in the middle of the bank-owned agency. Really a good look, like the bank manager was not excited about my presence, you know? But I didn't know. And so a mentor of mine said, what if you just tried to get everything into one place? And it really did change my whole projection. And I became an air traffic controller of my day. The rate was not going to be the boss of me. All the things that had to be done wasn't going to be the boss of me. I was going to be the boss of my day. And this really does empower your team. So you got to be the air traffic controller like this guy. He is having a good old time, right? Imagine you walked into your agency and everybody had this kind of swagger. You think you'd be given wow customer service? I think so. So the next one is you've got to act like you're going to win the lottery at lunch. Going back to my early years, I also was an under-documenter. I was a whole plethora of bad habits, let me tell you. I like to say I've gone to recovery, and that's why I'm here today. So when I was at the bank-owned agency, this thing would happen, and it might terrify you, but I want you to hear me out because it also works. We would get a tap on our shoulder on a Friday and be told not to come in next week, and the auditing team would sit in my desk and operate as me just from the system. Not from notepads, not from the brain, not from anywhere, just the MS-DOS single monitor tube screen system, okay? Some of you may remember that. Some of you young ones in the room are like, huh? There was a day we didn't have multiple monitors, humans. Now, to put this in perspective, when I got into insurance, there was no such thing as a debit card or an ATM card. You went to the bank and you got donuts. So I had this happen. Now, you might think you get tapped on the shoulder, told not to come into work next week. This is amazing. You get a free week off. Oh, no. You were like vomiting into your waste paper basket every morning. Remember, there's no texting. Like, this is a whole different era. And so you'd be calling your work best friend every night on their home phone. Did they look happy? What did they say? Did you get any vibe? And when you came back on Monday the following week, you didn't go to your desk, you went to the auditor's office. And there was either a performance improvement plan, a box with your stuff, or keys back to your desk, okay? I know some of you are like, damn, go home, tell your people, right? You're like, we're not so bad. You should hear this girl, what she had to do. So I got put on a performance improvement plan. And I always say, look at me now. Because I was an under-documenter. And I got really mad because my manager came in and says, Kelly, you got to fix this. It's a disaster. And he goes, what if you get hit by a Mack truck? Again, keep in mind, I'm very young, very volatile, very inexperienced at the way of the world. And I just looked at him and go, you know, that's very sad that you would be so concerned about my files and not my well-being. I got told to go home, justifiably, by the way. And I called another one of my mentors and I said, you know, they're all upset with me and I was trying to work it out. And she said, well, the principle is on point. Why don't you think, what if you won the lottery at lunch, right? So if I won the lottery at lunch, could I walk away from my desk at any time and anybody could help? She goes, because you have a lot of friends at work. If you won the lottery, you'd have nobody to share it with. Because everybody would be like, oh, her files, and now she's rich. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I still want friends. And I just kept thinking to myself, how much time could agencies save if we didn't have to interrupt each other all the time? Like, what's going on with this file? Where's this? What's that? And how much better of a client experience can we have when the phone rings, anyone can dive in and help? That's really the holy grail of time management, right? That could save us 5 minutes a day. The next one is slow down to speed up. So we have to slow ourselves down to speed up. Insurance does move fast today. And one of the things about insurance is, I heard you guys talking about AI and everything else. I love that. I think AI is great. I use AI every day. But maybe we just need to start with how we answer the phone. Like, there's a lot of blocking and tackling in agencies that's not right. And I know because we make outbound phone calls to agencies. And when someone picks up the phone and says, insurance, like all gloomy, right? My team is like, this one's a winner. These people need our help. But how much technology is underused in your agency currently? How much does your team really know about quoting each carrier? Because I'm going to tell you, as we progress through this hard market, as the carriers open, you're not going to know where to place business. It's going to be like a wild roller coaster, okay? It's going to be 1 week it's good here, another week it's good here. It's going to be like a bumpy plane taking off in turbulence. And we all need to slow down and learn to speed up. But I mean, I can't tell you how many times agencies don't use a personal lines rater. Oh, the rate's not right. but it is integration and it will save you time. Forget about the rate. It will save you time. How many of us don't use like e-signature or don't ask clients to download a mobile app? How many times we're not even using more than 40% of our agency management system? So I love thinking about AI because it's easy sometimes to think about the new shiny object. It's harder sometimes to say, is my team using the texting functionality in our systems to text clients? Because you want to talk about efficiency, you will get things far faster from people texting. But I still walk into agencies where someone like Barb will tell me, my clients don't want to be texted. I go, all 1,000, not a single one of your 1,000 customers wants to be texted. Yeah, they don't like that. Or none of my clients will get on EFT. None, not a single one would like to automate their payment. They want to call you and talk about it? I beg to differ. So we need to slow down and learn things and make sure things are adopted, right? And we also need to give people some grace because learning new things is hard. And I had a gentleman named Mark in the state of Wisconsin. And he was none too excited to be acquired by one of my clients. And Mark typed like this. The hunter and the pecker, you know? Call it like the chicken. And Mark goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I go, maybe not, but I was at the gym this morning and I'm not a bikini model. I think we can all get better, don't you? And he submitted his resignation. So, I don't know, but we can save time. My fear, and I say this all across the country, I'm not worried about AI as much. I'm not worried about, the markets. We will survive this hard market. In fact, many of your agencies have grown pretty substantially in the hard market. Not the way you wanted, albeit, but grown. And my biggest fear for the independent agent channel, and I hope I retire if this was ever going to happen before it does, is we become outdated because we simply can't embrace what's right in front of us. We can't get efficient. We can't dive deep into the tools we have. We have inconsistency where you have younger team members who are adopting technology but have no idea where the apostrophe goes in workers' comp. And then we have older team members. I call them the OGs. By the way, if I ever go to prison, I'm finding the account manager prison gang to join because these are some tough ladies. You know what I mean? And they our insurance encyclopedias have great relationships with clients, but man, you put something new in front of them and it's the picket signs are coming out, right? Like, oh, I'm not doing that. And you're like, okay, because it's so hard to find people like you. And the biggest unicorn in insurance is somebody with about 10 to 15 years experience. That's at that hybrid level, right? They haven't been at the same agency for 25 years. They have some diversity. They can adapt technology and have enough experience, and they're not green. And by the way, we need all three categories. That's not a knock. But that's the biggest unicorn. If you find someone about 10 years experience that wants to come work for you, just hire them. It'll make your life a bit easier. So the time vampire clients. Do you guys have time vampire clients in your agency? Like, I want to suck your time out. The hardest part is we created them, right? We shop them every 6 months, or we call them 15 times to pay their bill, or they want to move their EFT date 15 million ways, or it's the contractor who calls in all huffy needing a certificate right now, and everybody must drop all the things, right? So how do we reset that? Because honestly, your agency is not profitable on those clients. But the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So they call and they're spicy and they demand things. And so we just give in every single time. So how do we reset their expectations? This feels very uncomfortable to most service team members to have that idea of we might be over-servicing them. In fact, tomorrow I will be on with an agency in Virginia where the personal lines team is adamantly against tiering clients because they think everybody should get fair service. And my point to them is, you're not giving fair service because in 5 years with my 26 policies, I've needed one certificate and we changed one vehicle and the car dealership called. So I've paid my bill, I pay in full, I've had no claims. My brother sometimes has insurance, sometimes has a car, and hit 3 deer in 1 year on back roads at 2 a.m. with no police report, meaning he didn't really hit deer. So, because he sometimes has insurance, sometimes has a car, most of the time my mom pays, the one who's so busy, who gets more service in a year? He's got one sometimes policy of 26. If you just look at it fairness by units, I should get more proactive attention, but I don't need anything. So the people who drain our batteries are constantly getting there. We have to break up in people's minds that we're giving bad service by when my brother calls in and he's lapsed for the 3rd time this year, that we tell him he's got to get on pay in full or EFT. That's not bad service. That is donating that time vampire to your competition and letting them have this beautiful gift and draining their resources, not yours. So we have to think about who gets more service, and I think that this is really important. A lot of service people want the clarity of the boundary, right? Like, well, who are these people? We had one agency in New York. I don't actually know how I feel about this, so I don't know if you want to take this home. I go back and forth, but every year the owner would say, we're going to allow the service team to select 10 clients that we're going to non-renew and remove from the agency, okay? Now, the owner had final say, so it couldn't be like their largest client that had a lot of demands. And these women would go out to the Mexican restaurant across the street, and it would be like the NCAA brackets ripped out. There was pitchers of margaritas, nachos and fajitas everywhere, and they came prepared. And like there would be some heated arguments at the final 2. And that's why I say I don't really know how I feel about this as like a whole, but how they felt about the agency was so strong, and they had such good engagement because they felt like the agency understood that some of these clients are not serving us, and they didn't have to do the hard, awkward conversations, right? So think about your time vampire clients. Another one we have is this concept by when. So I get to listen to lots of recorded insurance phone calls. How many of you in here record your calls? Like a handful, okay. How many of you feel like it's a 2-drink minimum before you start listening? We had one agency owner punch the wall. Like I said, maybe we don't need to resort to violence. So because I listen to so many calls, there is a key factor that we find missing in anything from new business, remarket, service requests, which is we don't set a client's expectation of what's next. So for example, I'm going to change my vehicle. We don't ask, by when do you need this? We just assume it's right now and then kind of live in this what I call firefighting mode. We're taking 911 calls every day, and the list of activities in our management system builds, or that to-do list builds. Another example is maybe we're remarketing someone and we don't say, great, I'm gonna go shop the market. When are you available to hop back on a call? Let's set an appointment to go over your options. We assume that because they're upset, we must drop everything and do this right now. Well, I'm gonna be honest, if you were gonna reshop my account, you wouldn't be able to speak to me until next Wednesday based on my schedule. That would give you over a week's time to work on this. But if we don't ask the by when, we imply our own, which either is too soon, or on the flip side, we put it in the pile and it's way too late. So if you did this to my mother, and you said, all right, I'll call you back, she would call you in 30 minutes because she would put the egg timer out, the egg timer, right? And she would call you at 31 minutes and say, I thought you were gonna call me back. But that's on us, we didn't set an expectation. And if you called me because you reshopped my account this afternoon, I'm speaking twice more in Savannah. So are you gonna get me? No. Are you gonna play phone tag because you're gonna have to follow up with me because my schedule is jam-packed? Yes. That's not a great situation. A better customer experience is to make sure everybody knows the next step and the time frame and the expectations. There was an agency in Michigan I walked into, and they had this thing called the remarketing folder. It was this yellow folder, and it sat in the middle of the agency. And anyone that was upset with rate, because Michigan's a crazy state, y'all think it's weird here, go spend some time in Michigan. And anyone upset with rate, they went in the remarketing folder. And this thing had stacked up. And I said, guys, well, when would you get to this? And they go, I don't know, we're trying. We take it based on expiration date. The first 3 pieces of paper in there, the expiration date had already lapsed, like gone by. I was like, well, this is not working. And I said, why wouldn't you do it first come in? Because they're upset, right? Like they're upset. Why wouldn't we take it first in, first out? Or quality of the account might be another option, right? We look at the tiers. We say, this is a 4, package policy. Let's figure this out. And they go, we just don't know what to do. Like, it's just coming at us so fast. And I said, great opportunity to create a process and a strategy, right? So we got them up and running. We got them to do proactive renewal calls, and the folder got burned in a little bonfire that they had to burn the remarketing folder. One of my proudest picture moments. So next up we have is, if it's not in the management system, it didn't happen. Oh man, people look at me fierce when I say this. You all know about E&O, right? Is that something you're familiar with? So doesn't everything need to be in real time, date stamped, not in your notepad? So why do we allow people to have these notepads at their desk to write everything down in? So let me walk you through one of our biggest time management gaps. And you're gonna have to give me a second to go through this. So we believe in this thing called first call resolution, right? Which is the person is on the phone. If it takes, 5 minutes, I'm gonna do the certificate with them on the phone, send it to them, confirm receipt, hang up the phone, there's nothing else to do, right? I'm even going to document their account, like, just wanna confirm, I did a certificate, it's going here, while I have you, do you have any other insurance questions? Great. Now, I'll walk you through an endorsement, a vehicle change, just something you guys do every day, personal and commercial lines. I call in to change my vehicle. We can process that while I'm live on the phone, right? Then I know the premium. I know that it's all been sent to my car dealership, right? And everything is copacetic. Now that requires us to use a headset and to be able to have a conversation with a human while doing work. And that sometimes people struggle with. So that's first call resolution. Now I'm gonna walk you through what happens to maybe half of the staff in an agency. Is they do this. I call in to change my vehicle. They, off the top of their head, try to remember questions to ask, and they jot it down in their notepad, including my VIN number, right? They hang up the phone with me. They don't set an expectation on what's next. They start processing, and the next phone call comes in. So mine's half done. They take the phone call. They get somebody else's information. They stick that in the notepad, right? And this repeats all day long. So when they get a minute, they come back to changing my vehicle, okay? And then they look at their handwriting and they can't tell if that's a 6 or an 8 or a 5 or a 4. And then they go put it in, they're like, oh, I forgot to ask this. I didn't get their lien holder because I'm working off the top of my head and I'm already stressed and it's Thursday at 3:30 and maybe I have 3 working brain cells. So they have to call me back, but I'm on stage here. I call them back at 6 o'clock at night. They call me back the next day. We play ping pong for a minute. Finally, you get the information. You change my vehicle, okay? And then you don't tell me the premium. So in 3-4 weeks, because I pay and fill, I get a bill in the mail. And I call you up kind of pissy. Why did I get a bill? I pay in full. Oh, that's your vehicle change. You didn't tell me that. That just blew my whole car budget. I was already spending more than I could afford. What is this? And then I shop my insurance, and you will see a dip in your, or a peak in your cancellations about 30 days after you change a vehicle if your team is not explaining the rate difference. How long did that take versus, hi, let's absolutely do this for you right now? That was over 28 minutes when I time it in an agency versus first call resolution at 6. So in theory, we could change 4 vehicles in the same time it takes one person to write it down, to process it, to do one. Does that make sense to everybody? So do you see how we might not need more people? We need a better process, and we need to explain that that's a better customer experience. Now let's just say everything's in my notepad, including my bad handwriting, And I get the phone call that, you know what, my dog at doggy daycare is sick and someone needs to pick her up. Now what happens to our customer experience? Can anyone go in my notepad and grab that to finish that change? Do I call in and I'm at the car dealership and they're like, hey, you can't leave with your car, we don't have your insurance information? Who am I mad at? You guys, right? So everything has to be in the management system real time. I can't stress this enough. I know notepads are comfortable, but getting yelled at by clients over stupid stuff that we could have just stuck in there right on real time is also uncomfortable. We pick our discomfort. Plus, whenever I go ahead and I ask somebody and I say, okay, well, what's going on with this client? We saw that they left, and I don't find notes in the management system, that's a problem. Because the first place I'm going to go is your agency management system. It's facts, not feelings. People will tell you all that, well, I have it here, I did this, it's in my email, blah, 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 great. Nobody can help you. Nobody is coming to help you when you're backlogged if it's on your notepad, right? Remember my ugly cry? All in my notepad. So now I had tear-stained notes, and I had the snot that I was wiping off my face on them too, not a good look. We have to break up with duplicate work, which is what we're really talking about here, which is we use paper and notepads to stay comfortable. Now some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, if I go home and tell people they can't have a notepad, I'm gonna get stabbed in the parking lot. There have been times I've thought about wearing protective gear when talking about this and making a proactive renewal review call to every agency. I am still standing. There's been no physical acts of violence against me. I'm sure there was a lot of curse words used, but hey, I can get through that. So when we walk in and we say, guys, we are going to detox the agency from notepads, step one is we go down to one piece of paper that's shredded every night, okay? Not this thing, okay? One piece shredded every night. People can get behind that. Second, we bring in whiteboards. Now I'm going to do a swap-a-roo, right? I'm gonna change out your notepad for a whiteboard, because once the whiteboard's filled up, guess what you can't do anymore? You gotta add it to the management system, right? And then what ends up happening is people get really upset because they're like covered in white, like the marker dust, and like their hands, and they're like, I hate this. I'm like, awesome. Now we're gonna go just to a digital like Word document, okay? Don't worry about the management system, just start typing in a Word doc, because then we can copy, right, into the management system. And then the third thing is we pull up the client's account. So it's a stage down process, right? We're open to detoxing and not quitting cold turkey. And some team members go right to the end and they say, I'm just quitting. And some team members need a little stage down. But I don't know why we need quote sheets when we can have fillable PDFs. I don't know why we need paper files. I mean, some of the stuff we've been dealing with in the insurance space, I know we opened up, you know, very cognizant of the hurricane in Florida, the floods in North Carolina. We had an agency, a very large private equity agency. They had 2 total losses of locations in North Carolina, okay? If they had paper files, what does that do? It's not a good situation. And now I have a cyber risk on my hands, right? Because who knows where all those files and that paper is. So we're in insurance. Don't do what's comfortable, do what's right. So if you're freaking out about the notepads right now, just remember client information should be in the system. It is duplicate work. We can do first call resolution, real-time notes. Notepads are a crutch, and we should all have headsets and multiple monitors to make our days go by. So we're gonna break up with notepads. How many of you are inspired, though, to maybe try to cut down on the notepad usage? There's like 2, and some people are like, that's not the bridge I'm gonna die on today. But I'm gonna put that in my 2025 strategic plan. Here's what I'm gonna tell you guys. This guy's, he's ready. You wanna go take that and trash it? No? Okay. All right, he's practicing. Listen, one page, just one page at a time, it'll get you there. I promise. We've weaned people off. What I'm gonna ask y'all not to do is go home and be like, hey, what do you guys think about getting rid of notepads? That's not gonna go well, okay? Like that's not, there's some things you don't ask for your staff buy-in, you just sort of say we're doing. So price and remarketing, I mean, a gift of this market is we are remarketing somewhat less because market access isn't there, right? So we've gotten more skilled at having these hard conversations, which I think is so, so critical. But, you know, my projection is for 2025, markets are gonna start to open a bit, and if your client does shop, they might find something better, so we have to kind of be ahead of that. Now, one of the things I always think about is that the people who started in the hard market, so we've got the young new people coming into the insurance space, and we're psyched about it, right? Like, we need to pull people in. So somebody who started in the last year doesn't know anything different, right? So imagine when the market breaks, they're gonna be like, this is so easy. But for us old, you know, the old dogs out there, right? Like, we remember different times, but even in those different times, we were still kind of crabby about the market. Like, oh, there's so much work. How many of you want to go back to about 3 years ago right now? Right. So how do we handle remarkets? You know, I think that we have to get good at having the uncomfortable conversation. And for many account managers, they're sweethearts, right? That's why we have them in service roles. They don't love having hard conversations. So what ends up happening is people get on the phone and say, I can't afford that. You know, I'm gonna have to eat cat food. I'm not gonna be able to afford my insurance. Okay. So they feel like they have to fix that for somebody, right? Oh, they're upset, I have to fix it. And what I tell everybody is, my mother, back to Kathleen Donahue, will tell you that she can't afford her insurance, she's gonna eat cat food. She just got back from 2.5 weeks in Italy and Greece. Because we don't have any underwriting information to prove that, right? But somebody is gonna go and she's gonna wanna call back in 30 minutes and all these things, right? So starting my career in a bank-owned agency, I actually was a teller for a while. And you know, back in the day, because people came in, they didn't have debit cards and ATM cards, you kind of got to know how much money people had. Like, whether we liked it or not, the same people came in your teller line, it was a small town. You looked it up, you cashed their check, you saw their balance. And that happens 25 times, you just kind of know, like, not down to the penny, but hey, this person, oh, look, they have $1 million in an account. That's pretty amazing, or a couple $100,000. So when I got into insurance and they were like, I can't afford this, in the back of my head, I was like, BS. And there's a big difference between I don't want to pay it and I can't afford it, right? So the people who really tell you these things like, oh, I can't afford it, a great strategy to overcome that is, you know what, I understand. However, how would you pay for the claim if it happened? Because if you can't afford the insurance, you also can't afford the claim. And so we have to get good at, you know, really breaking up some of our team members from thinking with their own back pocket and thinking about the coverage. Because we create a lot of our own rate sensitivity in agencies, a lot. So another swear word we have in agencies is we do not allow our agencies to use the word remarket or reshop. We say, I will review it and get back to you with the best options. Because you'll have those people, those time vampire clients that call you up and say, shop me, shop me, shop me. Where did they learn that? So we need clarity. The other thing that I'm going to encourage you all to do is to identify clear guidelines on who gets a remarket. Okay? The person with the 30-year-old roof, do they get a remarket? No, they get congratulations, you got a renewal. I'm throwing a party over here. And they also need to have the conversation, sir or ma'am, your roof is 30 years old. What is your plan to replace your roof? It is past its age of usefulness. And this is something as a homeowner that is in your court. So your homeowner's markets and your rates will continue to be very volatile until that becomes addressed of care of your home. We need to have those conversations, which is why your team really needs a plan, a script, and when they do remarket, I'm a big believer we get something out of that remarket, okay? Because it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So maybe we get to increase coverage. Maybe we automatically quote an umbrella or life policy. Maybe we put them on EFT or pay in full. Maybe we put them with a preferred carrier that we really like doing business with, that's easy to work with. These are all things. Maybe we get a referral. Maybe we get a Google review. Maybe we don't ever re-quote monoline and say, in order to get you the best markets, I need to quote your entire package, because that's a fact today, right? Do the carriers love monoline business? No. So let's set ourselves up for success. If we're going to have to remarket a bit more next year because we are going to have to defend rate, the way I think of the clients out in the marketplace right now, you guys remember that poster of the cat that was like just hang in there? Like growing up, that was everywhere. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like little kitten. I feel like that's our clients right now. We're like, just hang in there. And so as markets open, we're gonna have to do what we call good faith remarketing, but your team needs to identify how to prioritize who gets those. Again, not my brother. He's sometimes gonna have insurance. Let's let him go to Geico, right? Like, let's donate him to Geico. They're gonna do a better job. And your team is honestly too skilled to do that. That would be like going to like Capital Grill and they put out a McDonald's hamburger, okay? Different markets. So one of the things I love to think about is this remarketing strategy. You know, I solved, how to be efficient for my 40th birthday. I spend a lot of time thinking about remarkets. I'm really fun and cool. I firmly believe, and I was at the Ohio Big I last week, had a lively dinner with some spirited gentlemen that really wanted to challenge me on this. In the agencies I work with, you also do not remarket before you talk to the person, 110%. And they're like, no, we have our VA remarket it so we can get on that call. I go, you have no idea what's important to that person. So number one reasons we don't remarket before we talk to somebody is, statistically, you're only gonna talk to half the people that you would trigger a reshop for, whatever that number is. It's gonna be 50%. You talk to 50% of people on renewal reviews, you only get half of them on the phone. So this is very labor intensive. So 50% of that time is burned automatically. So do you all need to have more time in your day, or do you need to do reshops for people who aren't gonna pick up the phone? That's number one. Number two, inspections are fierce. We know that, right? And underwriting guidelines are fierce. We need to connect with the person, get all updated information, because if they shop and tell the new agent they got a new roof, or tell the new agent their actual new revenue or sales or employee count and your numbers are not the same, you're remarketing with information that's not valid, right? So, okay, so now we have two. So we did this quote that's pretty much garbage in my mind, and not fair to our carrier partners, because we're on the hook to make sure that that's right. Number three, you will get on the phone with some people and they'll be like, oh no, I'm good, I'm gonna stay where I am. And we just burned time. Number four, I wanna get all the information and try to get other policies to quote in the process to be mutually beneficial. Number five, I have seen agencies that do all of these reshops, send them to the agent or the producer, and that producer does nothing with them other look at the rate and decide if they're gonna call the client. Time wasted. The real thing we should be doing is call the client, do a review, decide at the end of the review the best strategy. And now you have all the updated information. Does that make sense? Some of you right now are like rethinking your whole life. Like, oh, okay. And also a lot of those ream shops that you automatically trigger are often very backlogged, so you're presenting them kind of late to the client, right? And then what are we doing? Are we making our whole value proposition about price? Yes, we are. So the other thing we like to track is what we call our remarketing close ratio. So you track potentially your producers, what their new business close ratio is. I track the service team's new business or the remarketing close ratio. In many agencies we go into, if they shop 10 accounts, they move 2 to 3. So that's 20 to 30%. When we change the strategy, they shop way less because we have the right information, and they move about 70%, so they're moving with intention, right? So we drop the quantity, save time, and increase for the people who really do qualify for a good reshop, right? So just kind of look at this. This could be a huge area that we backlog in, and I have a quote at the bottom here. I know it's covered by the QR code right now, but I'm not a feelings person. Many agencies operate off of feelings. And here's the thing, feelings don't have brains, right? I have felt happy in the morning and totally pissed off in the afternoon. Feelings move. So when we feel like our customers only, oh, all of our customers are so upset, they don't have any money. We feel like everybody's burned out and stressed out. We feel like, oh, this market's so hard. We look at facts. The market is hard. Many agencies are growing and have actually seen an increased retention ratio because there's nowhere to move to. Many teams are burned out. You're right, these conversations are difficult, but the fact is we haven't armed them with a script or training or guidelines to help them. Many clients are distressed, but they also aren't educated on what the market's doing. So we have to look at the facts, not the feelings. And when I look at a remarketing hit ratio at 20 to 30%, my mind goes to how much time we're burning and how that could be redirected to proactive renewal reviews to get a better result, more cross-sells, more coverage increases, and build client relationships and rapport, right? So think about that. It's pretty easy to track. If you guys have questions, you can let me know. So we have this review script. I'm gonna read it. It's a little difficult, I'm sure, for the people in the back. But a lot of agencies will ask me, like, man, how does everybody do a proactive renewal review once a year to clients? And the fear comes from, is your team ready to have a really skilled conversation? So calling customers proactively is a skilled conversation today. And we need to train them and role play and empower them, right? So again, if you hit the QR code, you get the slides, you get the script. But many clients are interested in exploring other carriers. Even I occasionally look around to see if I can reduce my payments. However, I always like to educate clients that while you might save $17 per month, there's risks that are associated with those savings. Let me just share the risks with you real quick. Your property will undergo an inspection. If the carrier finds any issues at all, you'll need to address them or risk having your policy canceled. These issues could range as far as minor repairs, like fixing a railing, to major ones, such as replacing your whole roof. Often the cost of these updates far exceeds your savings. The result of these inspections can take several weeks to come in, and if the carrier cancels your policy, other carriers might do the same, leaving you responsible for the updates either way. If you switch to another carrier, you need to file a claim within the first year, you'll most likely be dropped at renewal. With a claim on your record, many carriers will decline your application, and those who accept may offer more expensive policies with less coverage. Lastly, no two carriers are the same. Some coverages you prefer might not be available. For these reasons, I always advise our first step is to review your policy, check for available discounts, and work within your current carrier. I know that was a lot. There would be pauses and breaks and communication in between. But giving your team things like this and practicing it, because it is an overwhelming conversation. And by the way, when clients call in, they're not like, hi, how's it going? My rate went up a little bit. Do you know why? No, they call in and be like, you people are crooks and thieves and liars and cheats, and I can't believe you're stealing my money. Insurance is a scam, right? And then you get flustered and you don't really know what to say. So we need to provide the team with some opportunity there. All right, personal drama gets locked in a car. This one's good. Again, going back to my younger self. So, imagine I'm like 22 years old now, and everybody around me, like Barb and everybody, has figured out that I can hang. And so we're all friends. And all of these like 45-year-old women are very interested in what a 22-year-old young female's life is like, okay? So I won't go into gory graphic details, but I was having a good time in my early 20s. Maybe some of you did the same, I'm not sure. So I would come into work, and they'd all come over like, how was your date last night? And I'd go blabbing off and off and off because I was 22. Now as a manager of 13 people, I want to strangle people when they do this, so I completely understand. I also had some personal issues going on, like with my family, and I won't get into that, but it was pretty serious time in my life. So I got called into my manager's office again. He goes, Kelly, we got a problem. I'm like, first of all, I cleaned up everything. I document, okay? Like, I am on track. I haven't ugly cried in 2 years. Like, I was like all over this. I go, my statistics are great. I'm leading a new business. I'm leading in cross sells. My retention's good. What's the problem? And he goes, it's your personal drama in here. I cannot promote you with you blabbing about your personal life all the time. Again, 24 years ago, the world is different. This might have been an HR violation today. I'm not sure. But at the time, it really wasn't. And by the way, he was justified in doing this. Looking at it now, like, I'm glad he did. Again, otherwise I wouldn't be here today. So he took me out. He's like, grab your keys. And I was like, where are we going? He took me out to my car. Now remember, there's no key fobs. This is back in the day. He told me to unlock my car. I had to put the key in, unlock my car. And he goes, okay, put your personal drama in the car and lock it. I was like, how do I do that? And he was like, stop being dramatic. This is a metaphor. So I did that and I locked the car. And he goes, that's where your personal stuff goes. So when you come in here, you stay focused on the clients. And he just walked away. And I was like, okay. And I walked in. And it took a lot for me not to give in to other people, but he had a carrot of I was going to lose a promotion. And I'm young, I want this promotion. And the next day I walked in and people were like looking at me in the parking lot, but I'm like, I'm going to put my personal stuff in here and lock the car. And he said to me a couple weeks later, he's like, the stuff going on in my family was pretty significant. He said, you need a break from that, right? Like, you need a break from that, and work can be a break, because what are you going to do about it during the workday? So leave it in the car, pick it up at 5, and go about your business. I was like, okay. And it really did help me kind of organize some stuff going on. So then when I come home, though, my roommate is like, all you do is talk about work. And she was like a private school teacher for like special needs kids. So like my day was like easy compared to that. And so I was like, oh. So I used the same principle, and all the clients that I didn't like that day, I would lock them in my desk drawer. And I'd be like, bye-bye, Mr. Smith, we'll see you tomorrow. And I would keep that at home and didn't bring it home to work. And I've done good about that, for the most part, up till into my adult career. But somebody told me in an agency once, like, when you talk about a client at home at dinner, you just made them dinner. So did you mean to make that client dinner? Because then I would go home and have 2, maybe 3 glasses of wine, have a headache, come in the next day kind of crispy. So it solved many challenges in my 22-year-old life. But think about that. Today's society is a bit different. People bring their whole self to work today. Like I said, I'm not sure how it would look to have somebody tell you to lock your personal problems in the car. And with social media, we know a lot about people. I love looking at social media and finding somebody grumpy on my team, and I'm like, looks like you went out last night. Now I'm grumpy too. So the bottom line is we have to figure out where that balance is, but if you have team members that are always bringing personal stuff in, like always on their phone, texting, chatting, everything from divorce to kids stuff, like there's an amount that is acceptable, and then there's an amount that's too much. And I don't know what that is. It's going to be different for all your agencies, but I'm just encouraging you guys to address it if it's getting to be too much and disruptive to other team members. Because if I'm fighting with my ex-husband, which I don't have, only have one husband, all day long at work, am I truly focused on the customer? And an analogy I use a lot with agencies, if you want to use this and take this back, is this. If a lot of your staff walked into their kids' school and saw the teacher that was supposed to be teaching them texting while they were supposed to be teaching their kids, what do you think the reaction would be? Like complete mama bear, right? Like, I can't believe you're texting, you're supposed to be teaching my kids, this is why they're failing math, blah, 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 right? So why is it okay for us to do it at our desks when we're protecting what people work really hard for, and they've trusted us to give them that protection? So on the worst day of their lives, when their home goes down in a flood, when a hurricane hits, when their house burns down, when there's a severe employee injury at work, why is it okay for us to be distracted all day? I don't see a difference in the vulgarity of a teacher texting versus the insurance agent. And really almost everything that we're doing can wait. But when people tell me they don't have time to make renewal calls, or they don't have time to cross-sell, or they don't have time to put notes in the system, and I see this, and I think that 5 minutes saved every day equals out to over half a work week, I kind of struggle with that, right? Kind of struggle with that a little bit. So that's your personal problems being locked in a car. They calm down after a while, and they kind of go to sleep. So headsets and heads up and headsets, right? I make mandatory use of headsets in all my clients, okay? Like headsets, and by the way, it is hysterical the stuff I will get. I don't like wearing one. And I go, so have you tried one? Because you've worked here for 25 years. And the owner's offered to get one. You've tried one? No, I haven't tried it. I just know I don't like it. And I say, would you try it for me for 10 days? It's gonna mess up my hair. Well, we'll get one that doesn't. Like, we can get you the Britney Spears model, you know, like you're up on stage. You could use your Apple earbuds. You could do a lot of things. Like, there's a lot of ways we can make this work. Because what we're doing is, if you've never used one, to find out you don't like it, you're judging it, and you're being a judgmental person. So, as we get older, we judge things more. But I would mandate headsets in an agency. I remember maybe about 5 years ago, I had an agent who'd been with the same agency for about 27 years. And this was when like multiple monitors started coming out, and she would turn them all off except one, out of protest. Her name was Marge. It's always like Barb or Marge, right? And she was just like, that is just too distracting, I can't do it. And I go, just like one day, like let's just, what do you have to lose for one day? Prove the point to me. And then after, she was so mad. She's like, I guess it's fine. Like, okay, Marge, we'll see you tomorrow. So you can't get to first call resolution without headsets. You can't break up with notepads without headsets. Just find one for your team that works. I mean, if you go into some of the carrier people are here, like all your carrier call centers, they have to use headsets. Would it be optional? Like, I want to do this all day, and tell me why you want to do this all day. Like, why do you want to, like, that seems like I'm going to have a workers' comp claim on my hands at some point in time with some kind of neck disorder, all right? You'll see productivity pickup, you'll see first call resolution pickup, and this is one of the biggest reasons people can't do it. So a huge time saver is just headsets and heads up. So this is the jam right here. Come in ready to work. And then sometimes people will like walk in the bathroom with them accidentally or walk out to their car. That's really fun. So tip number 12, guys, is to be an ER nurse. A lot of agencies operate like a deli counter, right? Now serving 67. And ER nurses work differently, right? So if I come into the ER with chest pains and somebody else comes in with a broken pinky, who's gonna get seen first? You hope chest pains, right? But in an agency, we don't triage nearly enough. So ER nurses have a plan on how to attack the ups and the downs. Like, I hear St. Patrick's Day is really big out here, right? So do you think they have a different plan on St. Patrick's Day to run an ER versus on like Tuesday afternoon? Of course they do. But we in agencies don't track our seasonality, like when is your heaviest renewals? Whose book is hitting the heaviest renewals? You can get all this information from your management system. So many agencies have a surge of renewals and new business in the summertime, right? And guess when everybody wants to take time off? The summertime. So most agencies don't have a full staff from May through sometime in September because people are always off. Justified. However, if it's also our heaviest renewal season, that is like my accountant taking a cruise in March. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not saying stop your people's vacations. I'm saying no and make the best plan and the best strategy. But ER nurses prioritize people. They work together. They rely on their data, not feelings. When there's chaos, they're trained to think clearly of what to do next, how to prioritize. They slow down to speed up, they communicate, and they celebrate wins. So all day long, your team has to operate like ER nurses. By the way, this is producers too. Producers need to prioritize the best leads, the best new business, the most complex accounts, right? And so we have to have this concept of operating like an ER nurse. And you see that last bullet point, celebrate wins? We have a survey we send out to agencies just to collect like what's going on. And one of the saddest questions we always have is, what's the last win you remember celebrating? And do you know how many people write, I don't remember? You know what feels good to win? And you know we don't celebrate wins enough? Like, do you know you've had the best sales month ever? Do you know you've hit your highest retention rate ever? Do you know that you got a big claim settled up? Do you know that your biggest client just renewed? Let's go to lunch. These are things we need to do to pump people up because the burnout right now is so high that you have to overcompensate to get around it. Number 3, delegate to elevate. Okay, how many of you guys have heard of virtual assistants in here? VAs? A handful? All right, for those of you who haven't, this is something I'd like y'all to look into because it is a huge key to success. I have 7. Just to put this out there. And I use a company called CoverDesk. They are only in the insurance space. So virtual assistants are non-licensed people over in a foreign country. Mine are in the Philippines. They speak great English. We know all of their names. We know all their kids' names. We know their pets' names. They are part of our team. 4 of them have more education than I do, okay? And they happen to be in the Philippines, which the conversion rate is very good. And they can take all non-licensed work off of your team. They work your hours. And so think about all the non-licensed work you have going on right now, right? Commercial lines, how much data entry? Personal lines, putting everything into quotes. Just doing basic, documentation, policy checking, audits, you name it, they can do anything not licensed. And whether it's that or you have a processing team or you have a receptionist, whatever you got, we all need to delegate to elevate. A big challenge we have in agencies is today's market demands a higher pay grade we're paying people more today, right? So when I have a licensed person that I'm paying X, dipping down to do non-licensed work, I'm hurting my profit margin. Right? So then I can't have my licensed person cross-sell or take new business or handle renewal reviews because they're doing something like data entry. And so in many agencies, we've started helping them scale into different roles, right? So a support person, whether that's a VA or someone in your own agency, that's either newly licensed or not licensed, and then them focus on this higher level work, right? But the resistance we get, man, it is like, I'm not sending it over to them in the Philippines. Her name is Maggie, she's delightful, and she is ready to work. We had an agency that's had a VA for about a year now, and she almost quit because they weren't sending her enough work. But you know what the agency owner was doing? Paying overtime. Well, they don't know, I don't know, it's a fear factor, right? Like they're not comfortable, it hasn't been mandated, or they send them the log cabin that breeds pit bulls with a 40-year-old roof and say, see what kind of markets you can find for this. Like, that's horrible to anybody. Take your own dumpster fires and deal with them. You don't need to pass those on. But whether that's processing or one thing I always hear, my clients only want to talk to me. Have you guys ever hear that? I go, whose clients? Mine. You go, you own them? No, the owner does. So they're the owner's clients. Well, they only want to talk to me. I go, what happens when you're on vacation? They wait. They won't even make a payment without me. I'm like, well, that's upsetting. But that's a fear factor, right? They're fearful that maybe someone finds a mistake or that's a psychological experience. So I really encourage you guys to think as you go to 2025, and by the way, we do have a strategic planner for agencies you can purchase that walks you through really clearly some of the things you need to look at to build a great plan for next year. But identify if everyone's so overwhelmed and it's hard to find licensed people, could we create a new role that's not licensed and take some of that work off of people? And the answer is yes. And then you have a training ground to build up new agents. So I like to tell people that if they're only taking all the work and not delegating it, it's the most selfish thing that they can do. Now, how many of you in here like being called selfish? No, right? That's not a great word. So everybody in here got gifted the insurance career. I got gifted it by Barb. Remember my little friend Barb? Didn't start off so good, but ended okay. She taught me. And I always like to say we need to welcome more people in. So these entry-level roles, we deserve to delegate so that they have training to do, and they learn how to take payments, and they learn how to do certificates, and they learn how to, process, and they learn how to audit, because that's how people learn. So when you hold on to the work yourself, you're robbing someone of their insurance career. Like I told you, after the first day, I almost called back the dry cleaner I almost worked at. I was like, you still got that job open? So how can we break it up and say, as these people, get towards retirement age, can they become mentors and let go of some of that death grip that they have and not be selfish and say, we have to give this gift of insurance to other people? Because insurance has changed my life. I don't know if it's changed anybody else's. I always say insurance is super sexy. You just got to find the right people. So think about if we need to break up with some of that. All right. So another one is appointments. Now, I'm a big believer of appointments. I think when people walk in, if it's complicated, we can say, no problem. Let me review this. What time can you come back? Or what time can we set an appointment? But the walk-ins can be a little much. I also would have you guys look at walk-in payments if that's something you're still doing, and just kind of identifying, is that working? Some agencies it is, some agencies it's not. But we can set appointments, and we can set appointments for people, even phone appointments. Producers do not love this, but one of our strategies we work with is, instead of having a phone call to go over a new business quote, we have a Zoom meeting, a video call. And we are seeing about a 10% increase in closing ratio when people get on camera. Now, the client doesn't have to, but they see you, it sets you apart. You can pull up the quote, you can walk through it with them, because people always say, people want to see the quote, people want to see the quote. I don't like giving it, because that could also easily go in the hands of a competitor of mine, and I look at that like that's my proprietary work, but on a screen share, no problem, right? Screen share, no problem. So I think we need to think about appointments and get that going. And my last one, before we'll take some questions, is zero backlog. So a thing that we work on with our agencies is they become a zero backlog agency. So what that means is when they leave on Friday, there's 0 emails in their inbox, because everything should be where? Your management system. And emails come in over the weekend, right? So we need to have 0 to start the week fresh. We also have 0 overdue activities or suspenses. All management systems call them something slightly different, but some systems will automate, like Epic automates things over the weekend, so you come into a pile. If you leave with backlog and you come in on Monday with more because it automated, what are we doing? We're causing more chaos. Email is a landing pad, not a destination. It comes into your inbox and it goes somewhere beautiful. We also encourage everybody to shut off the pop-ups for their email. And all we got to do is categorize them correctly. So you can get to 0 backlog, and I will tell you, it's a hard road, but when people get there, the change of the culture of the agency, your team's burnout is so different, because one of the biggest challenges is nobody feels like they're winning every day because they're constantly underwater. And if we can go in there and unpack how to get there, right? And it's a process. It takes 6 months sometimes to really organize an agency to be 0 backlog. But you will see your team leaves on Friday feeling great, and not like, oh, I gotta go pick up my kid up from soccer, but all this is still waiting and I gotta go. And they come in on Monday, not sleeping well on Sunday night, doing all these things. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed some of our time management strategies. And I know we're gonna take some questions now. So I know we covered a lot. Either some people's minds are blown or they're really excited. I'd love to hear what everybody's favorite strategy is. Okay, lady in blue.
What is the best way to get rid of your vampire clients?
You have to identify them first, right? So there are some that one of the first things we do is put in, it's called agency standards, right? So when my brother lapses for non-payment, is he welcome back? Right? So some of it you're waiting for something to happen. The second way that we do it is just set expectations for clients. So if they're very demanding, like they need everything now, if you put your agency standards into play, it would be more along the lines of, hey, absolutely, just so you know, our standard is that we'll get this back to you in 48 hours. And when they have their just say, I'll do my absolute best, but next time, just so you know, if you can provide us a little bit more lead time, that would be great. And there's always this fear, but I want to remind you guys, where can we go in America to get immediate service right now? Like even checking in this beautiful hotel, which has been lovely. I sat in line to check in for probably 25 minutes on Sunday afternoon, and a very nice woman came out and greeted me. Even when we open bank accounts for some of our companies, if I go to Bank of America, they require me to have an appointment. So I think the fear is they're gonna get upset and they go on like a Facebook group and like ream you out. Here's the great news. Everybody in town knows those people, okay? They're just gonna be like, yeah, he did that to you too, okay, great, and you're fine. But you also have to look at the cost, like is one person who's draining and probably not an ideal customer worth burning out your team and them sacrificing it? A quote I like is, if you say yes to something, we're always saying no to something else. The other option is you can always try to call your carrier and see if they'll get off the risk and just say, unfortunately, you're gonna have to find another home. Some will, some won't. Yeah. That was a good question. Other questions?
How would you suggest to, like our office, we have a problem talking about the clients. Like that's the time
Venting.
suck. You get off the phone with somebody and you're spending 20 minutes after the phone call talking about
Rehashing.
how awful they were,
Yeah, and it's never positive, right?
Right.
So that's a sign of a couple things. One of them being sort of a negative culture, right? And it does happen everywhere. People need to vent. Our rule of thumb is, okay, you need to vent, you get 30 seconds, and then we go back to our desks and we do something awesome, right? Because I get it, we gotta vent, but what happens is it then becomes this culture and it eats so much time, because if I tell you and then I tell her and then I tell him and it's 7 minutes, I'm eating up a half hour of productivity, to be honest with you. And then what happens every time you think the phone rings, or my favorite, in every agency there's these known customers that when this person calls, it's like, not it, like, oh, going to the bathroom. And it's horrible because sometimes they're not that bad, right? But in our head, and now it's like dramatic, so everybody wants to fuel that drama fire. I managed a team of 28 people between, it was Rhode Island and Florida. And what would happen is name would call up on caller ID and I'd hear, put them to voicemail. I'm not getting that. So I am like, you want something sugar coated, you get a donut, you don't really come to me. I don't know if you guys have picked up on that yet. I duct taped over all their caller IDs and I said, you're not allowed to take it off for 30 days. And 26 of them kept it on after that, and 2 of them relocated to other companies. But over duct tape, because you couldn't see the caller ID, like it did me a favor because I was gonna manage them out when they just weren't a good fit. So I kind of look at it like, and then also, those are the people who pay our paychecks. So I struggle, like, how are we trashing somebody who pays our paychecks when maybe they don't understand insurance, like they're coming to us. And like, not everybody's created equal. Some really should be time vampires, and that's a different bucket. But there's a lot of people who are just frustrated by the market because this was not what they were expecting. And that same day they bought new tires, right? And how do we turn that venom into empathy and realize, like, because of them we have a job, right? So try the 30 seconds, And sometimes, by the way, if that's happening in your agency, it starts with you. Like making sure you're not doing it, but then also saying, hey, you know what? That sounds like it was frustrating, but I really have to focus on my work. And like, don't give them the oxygen to continue to do it. And they might go to somebody else, but people pick up on that. So that was a good question, Danielle. Mic check.
Okay. With regard to cover desk, virtual assistants, and things like that, 2 questions. Are you providing extra licenses? Do you have to buy that
For
through
your
your
management system?
or are they using kind of what you've already got? Because we outsource our accounting,
Yep.
and they go through mine.
It could be either way. Some agencies, we want to track the activity of the
Right.
virtual assistants to make
Right.
sure that delegation is happening, and then you would need extra seats and licenses. I kind of lean on the best way is just get them a license. They're a team member, but accounting, they're not in there full time, right? So in accounting, you could work a little differently. But the teamwork, I think it's kind of nice to see who touched what last a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And then would they have like a blueprint for what other agencies are using them for?
Oh, 100%.
Or do you have to try to create that yourself?
No, and we have sample job descriptions, so if you did the QR code or you want to leave me your card, we have sample like VA job descriptions of what they can take off. They'll help you with that. They also, I can't speak to every VA company, but CoverDesk does put everybody through at least 4 weeks of insurance training and management system training on your system, as well as some national carrier training. Now, it's still just 4 weeks. Don't expect like if you hired someone for 4 weeks, they're still green. But I just look at it like it's so hard to hire and the pay scale has gone up. Agencies have to get creative on what this looks like. And just to be clear, I think there's always this, a couple weeks ago I had to call FedEx and it was like Tony from India, right? And Tony from India had no strategic thinking in his mind. He's like, so you want to send a package? No, I need the package you have needs to come to me and it's missing. And he's like, so you're struggling to print a package slip? No, Tony from India, like it's not like that. English is a primary language in the Philippines. Like I said, a lot of them have master's degrees. And I say this all the time. Mine get on video calls, mine talk to our customers. And at 2 a.m. in the morning, sometimes they look more alert and happy than some US people I've met at 2 p.m. because it's a 12-hour time difference. Like they are alert, happy to have a job, happy to work. If they make a mistake, they'll send you a 12-page email apologizing. I still have an email. I've had a VA, my first one was 6 years ago. And I still have the first email where he actually was so happy because we put him on our website and his whole family was so excited that he was on a US company's website for a powerful American lady CEO. That's what he said, and I was like, well, we're like 4 people, so this is exciting. Glad I made your day, So I think you know what, if hiring is tough, and I'm just gonna hit the punch right now, I can't stand it because everywhere here, oh, I can't find any people, I can't find any people. Does your job ad suck? Do you have a job ad out? Are you competitive, right? Do you have a compelling reason why somebody who's got a great job right now would want to come to your agency? What are you doing to get aggressive? This is a people business. You need Navy SEAL Team 6. They're not, they're just not a dime a dozen. And don't hire out of desperation, hire out of preparation, because the best people, when you have a vacancy, you're gonna get they have a license and they can fog a mirror, bring them over. And you're gonna get the person who job hop every 18 months because they're a terrorist, and they don't follow procedure and they have a terrible attitude. And so you have to think as you go into 2025, what am I gonna do about the core problems? That is our job as leaders. Problem, I can't find anybody. I need to scale, or I need to have a training program. Like, let's stop making excuses in this industry, and let's just go kick butt. It's my thing. Nobody wants to ask a question after that rant. Yes?
You talked about answering the phone. Can you give an example of a great way to answer the phone?
Yeah, I've got 2. So the first way I always it's a great day at Donahue Insurance. How can I help you? Or how may I transfer your call? If you have a true receptionist, do not have them say, how can I help you? The client pukes up everything and then has to, regurgitate it. So how can I transfer the call? And then last one is, thank you for calling Donahue Insurance. How can I make this the best call of your day? And that it's a great day at. I had a receptionist after we trained them go out to lunch and never come back because she said she will never answer the phone that way. And I said, so let me get this straight. Your job is to answer the phone. I'm asking you to try this for 5 days. And she's like, she called the agency owner, said, if you want me to come back, I'm not answering the phone that way. And he said, then I think you should come get your stuff. Because think about it. This is something as simple as how we answer the phone. This is not like rocket science, right? Like imagine then we ask her to confirm people's email addresses or confirm their cell phone number when people call in. Like, is that gonna be a battle? 100%. And to say, then she goes to me, she goes, well, what if it's not a great day at the agency? And I said, well, then we need to work on your inner skills because you answer the phone. Tell me what is a bad day at the reception desk compared to what the people back there are dealing with. I go, or you just fake it. Make it a great day, you know, because whoever's calling on the other end of the phone just got a 40% rate increase. Do you think it's their greatest day? Like, have some perspective, right? So hopefully that was helpful, you know. And we have some YouTube videos you can watch too, like on some phone greetings if your team needs to hear it. Because sometimes we go back to the agency and deliver that message and it falls a little flat, like they're like, huh? But the company I worked at, after I left insurance, the first training, coaching, consulting company I worked for, it was a fireable offense if the CEO called in and we didn't answer the phone. It's a great day at. And I know people think that that's very aggressive, but his point is you have to pick up the phone with a smile and you can't say it's a great day at without smiling. So you have to like, it's a great day at, like you have to really try to be negative. And so he said that, and the other fireable offense was if he came to the office and you couldn't recite the mission statement. And his perspective on it was great because he said, if you don't know why you're here every day doing what you do, then you shouldn't be here. And the mission statement was very short. I mean, it was like 6 words. It wasn't complicated. And everybody here, like, you cringe when I say this stuff, or you cringe when you hear I had to get audited and went home for a week. But we have lowered our standards through COVID and through the hard market quite a lot out of desperation. And I'm asking everyone in here to decide in 2025, where's the boundary? Where's the boundary? We can take all of our challenges and work through them if we try. We can find better people. We can find better processes. We can get the technology working. But we've just sort of been floating a lot, in my opinion, in a lot of agencies. Ooh, we got another question. My friend in blue.
One more question about virtual assistants. How about the security side of it? Like they know social security number, they may get credit card numbers, all of that.
So you should vet whatever company you work with. We have clients that use all of them. I would say, so they usually do a remote in, so like a virtual desktop, so at any point in time they can be, you know, put down. The other half of it is they record every keystroke, right? So their whole screen is recorded all day long. If they go idle for more than a certain amount of minutes, the manager steps over and says, hey, what's going on? Are you still there? Cover desk I can speak to, they go to an office, right? So it's an office in the Philippines that has cybersecurity, they have a whole CTO. But every company is going to be different. I recommend you would ask whichever companies maybe you're interested in about their security and their privacy. I also look at it like your staff could be working from home doing the same exact thing in the United States of America too, right? And by the way, don't store credit card information in your management systems and make people's payments. That is a big issue. And I cringe whenever somebody says that. It's like, I have to make their payment. What? You have them call in, please. All right, all the questions have been answered. I'm gonna hang out for a while, guys. I have about 50 minutes before I have to head to Savannah. So I'm gonna hang out. So if any of you have a question for a friend of yours, because that's usually what happens. Like somebody in here is like, I can't speak, but a friend of mine has a problem, I'll hang out. Also, I know you guys heard, we believe in calling your team hard market heroes. So there's some swag out there. You guys might have saw it when you walked in, the little squeeze toys. Take them home for your staff, but just let them know they are heroes in this market. And this market's not easy, and we should tell them that they are hard market heroes. And if you want more of them, we do have t-shirts and stuff on our website too, because they need to be pumped up big time right now. I know we talked a lot about the things that maybe they're not doing. There is a whole other side of, we just haven't given them a lot of the direction or guidance necessarily. So thank you, South Carolina.